Have you ever wondered why some people seem to control their reality, while others are forever trapped reacting to it? Why certain individuals predict every move around them, while the masses stumble through life believing they're rethinking for themselves? Here's the disturbing truth. Intelligence has nothing to do with how much you know. It's about which level you're operating on, and most of humanity never escapes the first prison. Imagine walking through a crowded street, watching thousands of people rushing past you. They're dressed in the latest trends, speaking the popular phrases, sharing the viral opinions. Now ask yourself this: are they thinking, or are they echoing? Because there's a difference between a mind that creates and a mind that merely reflects, and that difference separates the controlled from the controllers. Most people believe they think for themselves, but watch closely and you'll see something chilling. They don't think, they imitate. Their minds aren't engines generating original thought. They're mirrors reflecting whatever's placed in front of them. Their beliefs? Borrowed from parents, teachers, screens. Their convictions? Handed down like inheritance. Their emotions? Rehearsed by others long before they ever felt them. These people live at the first level of intelligence, the realm of the imitator, where the mind sleeps and repetition masquerades as reason. Look around you right now. How many people do you know who dress as others dress, speak as others speak, love as others are told to love? They hold opinions they've never examined, defend causes they barely understand, obey rules they've never questioned. They mistake memory for wisdom, confuse information with understanding. They consume endlessly news, gossip, advice, trends, believing that by absorbing everything, they'll somehow become wise. But their minds are like cups without bottoms. Pour all the knowledge in the world into them, and nothing stays. Because knowledge without reflection is a sword without a handle, sharp but utterly useless. The imitator craves one thing above all else: belonging. He doesn't fear ignorance. He fears isolation. To think differently would make him an outcast, and nothing terrifies him more than being unloved by the herd. So he conforms. He quotes whatever philosopher is fashionable, repeats whatever slogan is popular, joins whatever crowd seems righteous. He mistakes collective noise for truth, unaware that he's become a puppet who calls his strings freedom. Here is what makes this level so powerful for those who understand it. Society loves imitators because they are effortless to govern. They obey laws without question, work without resistance, consume without awareness. They're the foundation every system of power rests upon, and their obedience isn't enforced by chains, but by the beautiful illusion of choice. They believe they're free. They believe they're thinking. Yet every single thought in their mind was planted by someone else, watered by repetition, and harvested for another's benefit. The imitator's intelligence exists purely for survival. His purpose isn't to see truth, but to fit in, to learn how to behave rather than how to think. He copies the behaviors of the strong, but never grasps the strategy behind their strength. He calls himself educated, but his education is just imitation with a diploma. Such a man can read 1,000 books and remain blind, because what he lacks isn't information, it's the courage to doubt. Watch how the imitator follows authority blindly. The priest, the politician, the influencer, the expert, whoever the crowd has elevated, he believes them. Not because their logic is sound, but because questioning them would require standing alone. And standing alone is the one act he cannot perform. In every era, these men fill the armies, the offices, the temples. They're not evil, they're unconscious. They serve systems they never chose and defend values they never tested. But here's the imitator's real tragedy. He doesn't create ideas, he collects them like trophies. His conversations are rehearsed performances of borrowed thoughts. He fears silence because silence reveals the emptiness behind his words. A ruler who understands this level holds immense power because the imitator is the easiest to control, not through force, but through influence. Make him feel part of something, and he'll obey willingly. Offer him belonging, and he'll give you loyalty. Feed his need for validation, and he'll guard your throne as if it were his own. This is why power always disguises itself as virtue. The imitator doesn't see manipulation, he sees meaning. He wants heroes to worship and villains to hate. Simple roles that make the world less frightening. Tell him what side he's on, and he'll fight for you, even against his own interests. At this level, intelligence is asleep. The mind is reactive, not reflective. Identity is borrowed. Pride is hollow. Will is non-existent. The imitator can't see the strings attached to his back because those strings make him feel safe. Every puppet calls his master God until the show ends. But in rare moments, when the world's noise finally fades, something shifts. A faint voice whispers, "What if everything I believe was given to me for someone else as benefit?" That question is dangerous. It's the crack in the mirror. Because when imitation dies, curiosity is born. And curiosity leads to the second level, where the mind begins to awaken and ask the question that changes everything. Why? At the second level, something remarkable happens. The mind stops accepting every idea as sacred and begins to hunger for understanding. The man who was content to follow now demands to know the reason behind things. He starts questioning laws, structures, doctrines, everything he once accepted without thought. He discovers logic, science, reason, believing that clarity will finally set him free. For the first time, he experiences the intoxication of independent thought. But what he doesn't yet realize is that he's simply traded one cage for another, one made of reason instead of obedience. The logical thinker's world becomes mechanical, precise, structured. He sees patterns everywhere, yet he sees them only from the outside, tracing their lines but not yet learning to bend them. He no longer serves the crowd, but he still serves something, the system itself. He worships logic the way the imitator once worshipped authority. He believes every truth can be proven, every mystery solved, every problem reduced to method. He becomes rational, but not yet wise. This man builds his mind like an architect, brick by brick, principle by principle. He studies philosophy, science, politics, mathematics, not seeking power yet, but understanding. He's no longer driven by emotion, but by reason. He's replaced superstition with analysis, chaos with pattern. But logic, like religion, can become another form of worship. The logical man begins to see himself as superior to the imitators, and in one sense he is. He no longer follows blindly. He examines data, debates ideas, questions everything. Yet beneath this rational pride lies another blindness, the belief that reason alone is truth. Here's what the logical mind misses. Some of the greatest truths about power, emotion, and human nature cannot be dissected under a microscope. They can only be understood through experience, and the logical mind in its arrogance often avoids that experience. The ruler understands this stage breeds both the engineer and the servant. Logical minds master rules, but rarely question the purpose behind them. They become advisors, technicians, scholars, useful and intelligent, but ultimately safe. They're still bound by the very logic they worship. The logical man is like a soldier who knows every weapon, but not the strategy of war. His thoughts are sharp, but his vision remains narrow. He understands systems, but not the people who created them, and therefore, he cannot bend those systems to his will. He clings to certainty, needs evidence before belief, rules before risk, structure before movement. Yet power belongs not to those who wait for proof, but to those who act before it appears. The logical man hesitates. The strategist moves, but this level serves a purpose. It's the refining fire that burns away ignorance. Without logic, intelligence remains emotional and chaotic. The mind must learn to think with structure before it can think with freedom. Here the individual becomes disciplined, learns that every action has consequences. understands that emotion clouds judgment and order brings power. What he doesn't yet see is that control of logic isn't the same as control of life. True intelligence begins when you stop worshiping logic and start using it, when you realize that logic isn't a god, but a servant. Then comes the transformation into the third level, where intelligence takes its sharpest edge. The thinker who once served logic begins to see the strings behind every system. He no longer studies rules to follow them, but to learn how to break them. He realizes every human, every belief, every system has a weakness. This is the realm of the strategic thinker, where logic becomes a weapon and intelligence transforms into influence. At this level, the mind becomes dangerous. The strategic thinker studies human behavior not for curiosity, but for control. He learns the invisible gears that drive every action: desire, fear, ambition, weakness. He realizes people aren't logical. They're emotional, predictable, and manipulable. He no longer wastes energy proving he's right. He focuses on being effective. He doesn't argue to win truth. He speaks to win people. Because in this world, it's not truth that wins. It's persuasion. The strategic mind watches the world like a chessboard, where every individual, law, and institution is a piece to be moved, not admired. Timing becomes more powerful than talent. Silence achieves more than argument. Perception shapes reality itself. Most people believe intelligence means being good, but strategy reveals the truth. Morality, like everything else, can be bent. The strategic mind doesn't reject morality. It repurposes it. Appearing virtuous becomes more powerful than being virtuous, because the crowd sees the mask, not the man. Every interaction becomes an exchange of power. A compliment, a favor, a silence, all are weapons if used with precision. The strategist no longer reacts emotionally. He responds tactically. Even his kindness has intent. Even his mercy has meaning. But this level demands something the imitator and logical man could never endure: detachment. The strategist cannot be ruled by ego, because ego clouds judgment. He must watch without emotion, plan without hesitation, act without guilt. Those who hesitate out of morality are devoured by those who act out of clarity. Yet the strategist eventually meets a ceiling. While he can manipulate the present, he remains trapped by it. He plays within the boundaries of systems, bending them to his will, but not creating new ones. His power is great, but borrowed, limited to structures that already exist. And so the rarest transformation begins. The strategist starts to dream. He no longer wants to play within systems. He wants to design them. He no longer seeks advantage within reality. He wants to redefine it. This is the dawn of the fourth level, the visionary, the one who no longer follows or bends systems, but becomes their author. He builds ideas that outlive his body and shapes the destiny of men without ever needing to rule them directly. At this level, intelligence transcends manipulation and begins to shape reality itself. The visionary recognizes that every belief, every law, every social order is an invention, a story agreed upon by the masses. And if reality is a story, then the most powerful intelligence isn't the one that reads it, but the one that writes it.